Thought you knew Jesse James? Wait until you meet his family. Jesse's papa, John M. James, was a spy for General Washington in the Revolution. He also was a preacher, but they branded him a rebel preacher because he preached without a license. They drove him out of Virginia into the far western frontier of the Kentucky. Then there was the teacher, Thomas Martin James. He aspired to the highest mental culture. So he packed his family on a riverboat in Kentucky and headed for the far west border of Missouri Territory. There, he founded schools and he founded churches, and he established a business which could ensure that his family could outrun the stigma of an outlaw reputation. Behind the store, he spiffed loans to Frank James, and he became a lifelong friend of Jefferson Davis. He died a millionaire. And then came Vassi James. Now, don't you go discounting her just because she's a woman. Like any James, she has the unique ability to confound expectation. Vassi was what you call a feminist, first of her kind, personal friend of Susan B. Anthony and Eleanor Roosevelt. She started some schools, she had her own real estate development company, and she broke through the old boys' political network to become the first female delegate to the National Democratic Convention. She urged her husband to run for mayor of Kansas City, and when he did, Election Day turned bloody. 8 dead bodies were left in the street. Then there was Daniel Lewis James. He was a screenwriter out in Hollywood, wrote The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin. Then the government came after him, labeled him a communist. Hollywood blacklisted him. So he went into the barrios of Los Angeles, became an unofficial, unpaid social worker among the Hispanic community. From his experiences, he wrote a book, famous all over town. He wrote it under the pseudonym Danny Santiago. And then the Hispanic literati came after him. They exposed him. He wasn't Hispanic at all, Danny Santiago. He was an Anglo, Dan Lewis James. They brown listed him. Then there was James Randall Ross, judge, Superior Court, Orange County, California, a direct descendant of the outlaw Jesse James. The case came before the judge's court. It pitted Disneyland against a gay couple who wanted to dance there. When the judge made his ruling, he came down on the side of civil liberties. That's when the politicians came after him. He became famous defending himself, saying, "I'm the great-grandson of Jesse James. No one in our family backs down." Then he picked up his pension and walked right past them. So, who is this Jesse James family? Soul Liberty says they're preachers, teachers, politicians, community builders, financiers, educators, writers, and poets. But society says they're pariahs, they're outcasts, they're outlaws. you're going to have to judge for yourself. After you read Jesse James' Soul Liberty, you'll never think about Jesse James the same way again. That's because the James family has done what no other historian could ever do. They've broken 130 years of their family silence to show you why Jesse James endures as a cultural American icon. Who am I to say? I'm Eric James. I wrote Jesse James' Soul Liberty.